Hi families, this is Jennifer Lynch, your school principal. I'm doing a series of videos instead of a general meeting that we would typically hold at Back to School Night. As many of you know, our Back to School Night is on October 1st from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And this is the first time in many, many years that we will have all grade levels K through 5 in the building at the same time. Many of you know how hot and overly crowded it can be in the cafeteria when we're all trying to squeeze in together with just several grades. So I anticipate that it would be very hard for you to hear, see, and digest any of the information I would share with you in such a large group. For that reason, I'm doing a video series where I can break apart some of the information that I want to share with you and send it to you in smaller chunks and videos. You can watch these at any time. You can go back and watch them again and again. And you can email me, call me, or come to an open forum to ask any questions you may have about any of this information. My phone number is 410-887-0820. My email is jlynch2, Lynch2, at bcps.org. And I will have an open forum from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. on October 1st, right before the start of Back to School Night, where you can join me in the cafeteria and you can ask me any questions. If you don't want to wait until that open forum, please email me or call me at any time, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. I started this video series by talking to you a little bit about what our safety drills were going to look like this year, including ALICE drills. And I'm very happy to report that we had our first ALICE drill today, and it went wonderfully. So you might want to ask your child a little bit about it at home. Just because I know that sometimes when you ask them the question, they say, I don't know, or nothing. Here's what we did. We had a lockdown drill today where our students stayed in the classroom. They locked the door, and then they had a conversation with their teachers about if they ever needed to make the classroom more secure, what would that look like? What materials would they use? If they ever needed to counter, what might they consider using? It was more of a conversation with students about how to be safe, so be sure to ask your children what they came up with as their ideas. The second part of the video series, which is the remainder of this video, I wanted to talk to you about one of the goals that we are setting for children this year. We know that at Hillcrest, our goal is foundational in nature. We are setting forth all of these strong foundational skills for learning for students for the rest of their lives. And part of that includes organization, study skills, and note-taking skills. And our job is to make sure that as students leave fifth grade, they are as prepared as possible to go on to middle school to be successful. And one of the key things that we hear from sixth graders when they come back and they talk to us is that they don't feel prepared in terms of organization, note-taking, and study skills. And so we want to make sure that we are making an adjustment to what we're teaching your children to make sure that they are as prepared as possible for middle school. So this year, what our teachers did is we started with what we know are sixth grade expectations in those three large domains. And then we backmapped them and we talked about what would be a logical goal in each of those three areas for students at every grade level, starting in kindergarten. So when I send out this video to you, I'm also going to be sending you an attachment with a Word document. And that Word document will have those three large domains, study skills, organization, and note-taking, and it will have what is our goal for our students by the end of the year at every single grade level. I strongly suggest that you take a look at this and look at all three pages, because there's 3 pages of them, to see what are the goals that we are going to be working on with your child here at school, so that you also know how you can be helping your child at home. Because this is the first year that we've done this, we do suggest that you also take a look at the grades that are below where your child is currently to see if there's any holes or gaps of things that you might want to be addressing at home, or things that you want to have a conversation with your teacher about that you think that your child might need a little extra support on. So let me talk to you a little bit about these 3 things and what we can do to help our students and what you can do to help your students at home. So the biggest questions that I always get are about homework and what does homework look like? What should it look like? How much help should you be giving? How can you be helping your child? So the first thing that I always suggest when it comes to homework is that you are setting aside a place that is quiet, that is free of distractions, and that is clean, that your child can do their homework every single night. You want this to be a place that is close enough to you that you can answer any questions, but that is not sort of in the middle of preparing dinner or something that would become so distracting that the students can't concentrate. I strongly suggest that in that area you have it stocked full of supplies of things like pens and extra paper, erasers, maybe a calculator, a ruler, things that become excuses to get up and walk around or to get distracted from the work at hand. It's always just best to have all of the supplies that you need ready to go before you sit down and get started. One of the things that we always suggest for our students is that they understand what their homework expectations are. And we do that in a variety of ways. Some of our teachers have agendas where students write their homework every night. Some have homework logs or homework notebooks. Some have maybe a sheet of homework options for students to do throughout the week, and they just simply check it off what options they have selected. And some post on Schoology. So we suggest that you as a parent understand how homework expectations are coming home from your teacher and have that conversation with your child and check on that every single night. I strongly suggest that you check out Schoology at least several times a week. Schoology you can get to by going to BCPS 1, and that will take you to Schoology. When you go into Schoology, it will have everything that your child has turned in, your child's grades, what is upcoming assignments when they're coming due, so you can really help your child understand what they need to be working on at home and help them set smaller goals to reach maybe those large goals of a long-term project or something like that. It's also a place where you can email your teachers with any clarifying questions that you might have, and also to have your children communicating with your teacher. One of the things that we really do ask parents is that you are encouraging your child to have those communications with teachers first before you get involved, and helping your child practice how they would have that conversation with a teacher. So if they don't understand something or they don't know what is due, we do encourage you to talk to your child about how they can talk to their teacher first. And then if you aren't satisfied with the answer or if they're still confused, then you can have those communications with teachers. But we really do want our students, as early as first grade, to start having some ownership of their learning and to understand that asking questions to your teacher isn't something we need to be afraid of. It's something that they need to feel empowered by. If your child's feeling particularly uncomfortable, one of the ways that you can help them communicate with their teacher is through Schoology. There is a way to communicate with the teacher, and you might be able to help them craft an email back to the teacher to ask some clarifying questions. And then if you continue to have questions or concerns, we always want you to advocate for your child and to feel like you can communicate with your teacher at any point in time. So once you know what your children are doing, and we have a great place for them to do it, your children will be expected to do homework. Homework expectations vary depending on the teacher and the grade level. However, we often get questions from parents about when they're doing their homework, how much help is too much help, how much is not enough, and what should I be expected to do with this homework? We always encourage you to work with your children if they have any questions, to ask them questions that might lead them in the right direction. Please do not provide them the answer. This is not your homework. You've already done your duty. Now it's time for them to do theirs. But you can help them, and you can provide examples. You can give them guiding suggestions. You can work with them. Your child should always be expected to do their own writing and to do their own work. We do ask that parents always check children's homework before they send it in. You want to check it for things like correctness, and if it's not correct, please work with your child to correct their homework. You want to look for things like handwriting. Is it their best handwriting? Is it their best work? One of the other things that we're working with students on this year is handwriting, beginning in kindergarten, all the way through 5th grade. So kindergarten through the beginning of 2nd grade, they will be working on manuscript, which is your print letters. They will be learning how to formulate them correctly, the right size. They will be learning to do it very quickly, neatly, efficiently. Starting in the second half of 2nd grade, all the way through 5th grade, they will be working on cursive. And so you want to make sure that your children are practicing this at home and that they're practicing it neatly, because the more that they practice it neatly, the more efficient and fluent they will become with it over time, and it will remain legible, which is always important, is that we can understand what students have written. So you want to be checking homework to see if it's correct. You want to be making sure that it is neat and it is understandable. You might want to be helping them with how to organize their paper so that if a teacher was looking at it, they understand where number 1 is and where number 2 is. And you also want to be working with them on edits. So if your child is writing and it isn't correct, it is okay to go back and to edit that work and to ask them to make those corrections at home. Even as young as kindergarten, we will always want students to do their work and to spell things the way that they think, called inventive spelling, using their phonemic awareness and their phonics skills. However, students need to practice how to spell things correctly frequently in order for that to become something that they will naturally know how to spell correctly. So if they're always spelling friends wrong, you always do want to correct that for your child and have them go back and practice the correct way to write something. So that is a good way that you can help. The other thing that you can do to help your child is you can make sure that they're doing their reading every single night. We know that a lot of children enjoy reading right before bed, and that's a great bedtime ritual for many of our families. I also know personally for me as a parent is that sometimes bedtime becomes a little bit pushed past where we expected it to be. We're going to bed later, we're a little bit tired, and reading is unfortunately the first thing to go. Even in the principal's house, reading is the first thing to go. But don't tell anybody I told you that. That's just our secret. So if you're feeling like me, that sometimes reading is getting pushed to the back burner, you might want to move up your reading time to right after dinner or right when students get home from school so that you have time to be engaged in reading with your child. We do encourage you to do reading with your child. Sometimes that means that you're reading to them, maybe getting them engaged in a chapter book, helping them by asking questions, that you understand that they are doing the reading that they're expected to do. If they go off sometimes in a corner, we don't really know what they're doing. But it's okay for you to read to your child. You do want them to be reading by themselves sometimes as well. But if you're reading to them, be sure that you're asking them questions as you're reading to make sure that they're following along with you. And it doesn't have to be any kind of fancy questions. It's just questions that are arising in your own head as you're reading. I wonder why they're talking about that then. Well, I wonder what's going to happen next. That's a weird cliffhanger. I wonder what that means. So what you're modeling for students, for your children, as you're reading aloud and asking these questions to them, is you are showing them the questions that they should also be thinking about when they're reading by themselves. So it's okay for them to read sometimes and for you to read sometimes. We do want students to read on average for 15 minutes a day. Up to 30 minutes a day would be fantastic. It takes a while to get into a book or a story. So sometimes when you're reading in very short snippets, especially as students get older, it's not enough for students to really understand the flow of language, the flow of thought, the flow of ideas. And so a little bit longer is always better. The other thing that you can do to help your children in terms of organization, study skills, homework skills this year is to build their independence at home. So even as early as kindergarten, your students can start putting their own homework back in their take-home folder. They can be checking off their homework list that they have completed their homework. They can be putting their homework notebook or their take-home folder back in their book bag and putting the book bag by whatever door that you leave in the morning, making sure that they have all of the supplies and all of the materials that they're going to need for the next day. Their library books, gym shoes, art smock, anything that is at home that needs to come back to school, they can help to plan to pack it up the night before with you. Also make sure that your children are carrying their own materials, jackets, coats, and book bags, at least to school. We do often see that at the end of the day, children are just throwing book bags at parents, and parents are carrying those heavy book bags. And we know it's been a long day for students, but we also do want to start to set the expectations that students are responsible for their own materials, and they should be carrying their own book bags and their own jackets. And when they complain, you can tell them the principal said so. The last thing that I want to talk to you about is just making sure that your students are set up for success this year. So if at any time you have any questions about homework expectations, organizational or study skills, please do not hesitate to reach out to your teacher. Our teachers will be working all year long to directly teach many of these organizational and study skills. They will be teaching them how to study. They will be teaching students mnemonics and strategies and organizational techniques that they can use to build their independence. As teachers are doing that, we want to make sure that you are helping to build independence at home by ensuring that children are taking the lead in their own learning. If you are ever unclear about what you should be helping with and what you shouldn't be helping with, or what a strategy looks like, we encourage you to reach out to your teachers. They are happy to partner with you. We are all happy to partner with you to make sure that we are all working together in the best interest of your child. If you have any other questions about this video, about organization, study skills, and note-taking skills, please do not hesitate to reach out and ask me any questions or to ask your teacher any questions. We will be sending another video series for you, and I hope to see you on October 1st, beginning 6:30 to 8:30 for back to school night, and 6 o'clock if you have any questions directly for me. Thanks so much and have a good day.